We're just going to start off with just with some basic principles, I guess. Flat sheet, maybe some corner edges or radiuses, and maybe a hole in the part. As always, it is quite important to set up your interface correctly. I've used a different style on mine, the dark theme. Some people like it, some people don't. But you'll notice, as I've shown before, I've customized a lot of my ribbon. You can see here quite a bit of customization that I've added in there, just to suit the way that I work, and I think that's quite important. A lot of people don't realise a lot of the commands up here as well, so I use this as a shortcut menu as well, and you can mark it as your favourites. Alright, so that's quite handy to have. Alright, so what I'm going to do is a simple rectangular shape. So we'll select rectangle. I've got a number of options here. We're going to keep this very simple. I can build it from different corners, or I can build around the center, and you'll see it's basically telling me what I need to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to pick my center. There are a number of ways I can go about this, because in actual fact you can select a position from here and put in your dimensions. If we do that and fill it in, you can also double click and fill in these values, and you can enter values from here. Okay, otherwise you can select 2 points. Probably my preference is to select 2 points, and something you'll notice as well is I tend to set my colors through different areas of the system. So pretty much here I'm just going to say 300, enter, 200, enter, and I've got my basic part, my shape. So I'm going to accept that, and I'm going to accept it, and there it is. I'm going to go to my create command, create, because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to convert my profile into a sheet metal part. I will make note too, in this session I'm not using the bending database. Okay, so I'm just doing it on the fly, and I would need to adjust my factors accordingly. Down the track we'll look at explaining more about the database. You'll see here I can select my thickness. That's probably the main thing. Sometimes there's options you may want to have a look at. Labels means it'll put labels on the material for you, but in its easiest way we'll switch a window, verify that, and we've got our flat sheet essentially. Alright, using the mouse right click I can hold and rotate around. Now you notice again over here I've adjusted my menus. This can all be customized under here. A couple of good menus is obviously the zoom out one, alright, or zoom up, whatever you want to call it, but also what can be good is this one too I've added, because I can pick my face and I can bring it front and center and then zoom that up as I need to. Okay, so we're going to go to our CAD commands here. As I said, we're doing a very simple plate, and we're going to add some chamfers. Now you might have noticed when we created the profile I had the option to add chamfers and radiuses as well, but I'm doing this as a secondary step. So in actual fact I'm going to go chamfers. I'm going to specify the size of my chamfer, and what I can also do, I got a pan command, so I can just move that across out of the way of the menus. Alright, even though they're floating, sometimes it's easy to move around. Now it is important to note that I want to do all those corners. I can rotate and get to each corner, but what I can also do, if I drag over my corner from left to right, we'll pick that corner, we'll pick that corner. See, notice here that that's increasing. I'm moving left to right so I only get the corner. Alright, and now when I go OK, I've actually got my chamfer on here. Alright, and you'll actually find this can be adjusted. Okay, now wherever I use my blends, which is my radius or my chamfers, I can do the same thing. You'll also note that I've got a color set. Again, I will just accept that. Again, just because I like to see the different colors. I just find it visually appealing to note. So, and again, what I can also do, if I go to this face and I highlight, let's start that again. Let's stretch over that, let's stretch over that and go OK. You'll notice I can now edit that. Again, sometimes make sure you've got your information correct here, especially if you're doing radiuses and distances. You notice you can fill it in here or you can fill it in here, but notice I'm dragging left to right. not right to left. It makes a big impact because I'm only picking up those corners that I'm dragging over. Rather than I come the other direction, I'm picking up the whole profile, and you can test that and see the impact. And we can accept that. Okay, so it's important to note when doing the move face, the same also applies if I highlight, let's say I highlight that and accept it, you'll see now I can actually adjust that as well. All right, so you can see the impact that it's actually having. Okay, I can either again adjust by dragging, I can put in a value, or I can put in a value down here, and then I can accept that. All right, obviously this part's a bit of a just muck around part, but you can see the impact. Now, if you don't want to leave the profile lines that we used to create the part initially, this is where your quick commands come in handy, because I can just come up to here, go delete, and I'm actually going to delete that profile line that I don't want anymore. And now it's gone. Okay, again, I can use this, bring this up to face, and zoom that up like that. Another handy command while here is holes, and again you'll note that I've created my own menus which can be done under themes and customize ribbon. So I can come into here, and you'll notice in my active ribbon here it's as easy as creating a new tab called favorites and then a panel called favorites under it, and then you can just pick whichever one you want, highlight your menu, and pop those commands under here. So you can see I've got a whole range of favorite commands, some delete commands that I've grouped together, and some hole commands, as well as macros that I've created as well. Okay. Now what we can do, we can go to holes, we'll go to our hole command. There's a couple of ways you can add holes or shapes, but when doing holes it can be quite simple. I'm not going to go into sketch lines and everything at this point. I'm just going to create a new hole and put it in the middle, and I've got a 50mm diameter. You'll see I have different options here, not all relevant to sheet metal, but probably the first and the second are, the second one being countersink. And I'm just going to pop a hole in the middle. I'm going to accept that, and you can see I've got my hole there. Okay, got that. And you can see I've got a simple hole. I can edit that radius, all right, because again, if I pick on the face, verify, you can see I can override that, and I can reduce that down. Okay, so very straightforward. I'm going to bring that to face, zoom that up. Just some basic commands to get you started on a flat panel. Thank you.